Hey everybody, it's Stitch1993 and welcome back to another Underrated Games where I talk about games that probably haven't been talked about much. And today we're actually going to talk about a whole trilogy. Now you may be asking, how can a whole trilogy of video games be considered underrated? Well, originally the first game wasn't underrated. It actually was pretty advertised when it was released on the Nintendo Wii in December of 2008. Now, there was a Wii and a DS game that released on the same day. The Wii game was Mushroom Men, The Spore Wars, and the DS one was Rise of the Fungi. They released on the same exact day, and one was a 3D collectathon platformer, while the other one was a 2.5D side-scroller, still having the collectathon bits there. And we're going to look over those two games today, as well as the third game in the series, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But first, I'm going to talk about the main one, Mushroom Men: The Spore Wars. Again, released on December 2nd, 2008, exclusively for the Nintendo Wii. Now, back when this game was coming out, or close to coming out, it was heavily advertised. You saw posters all over Nintendo Power, and for years to come, anytime you had a Nintendo Power or any of the other video game magazines, most of the time there would be a page insert advertising this game. And it was a fun game to advertise too. Now, for those who probably don't remember or did not grow up with the Wii, during that time, the 3D platformer collectathon was kind of made its way out of the store back in the PS2 and GameCube era. By the time the Wii and the PS3, for the matter, and Xbox 360, of course, the side-scroller was the thing to be. It was the new hip game to be after so many years of everything being in 3D. A lot of people were nostalgic a bit for 2D, including myself. So that's where we got games coming out like New Super Mario Bros. Wii and Boy and the Blob and a whole slew of slide scrollers for the Wii. But there was a couple games that were still hanging on to the 3D platformer collectathon, and one of them was Mushroom Men: The Spore Wars. Now, the story is about a comet crashing to Earth and causing all this green dust to wake up a whole bunch of fungi, and causing fungi and other flora and even some animals to mutate into whole little creatures, and the creatures would make societies, and some of them would find more of the green dust and use it to be powerful, and if some of the animals took it, they would go mad or get mutated. And so the story of the game is you play as Pax, a bolette mushroom, who is just trying to find his place in the area. You're not really the chosen one, but you are set out on a quest to try to help bring the other 5 tribes together. There's a couple villains that go from stage to stage, but man, the thing that really grabbed me about this game to begin with was the graphics and art style. The Wii wasn't the most powerful graphically, but it could still turn out some really pretty games, and Mushroom Men: The Spore Wars was one of them. I'm telling you, they put a lot of effort into making this game look as great as it could, and I felt it kind of landed itself in the same type of, I don't know, funky color scheme that a couple of previous platformers were, like Voodoo, Vince, and Psychonauts, especially the green and purple type of color with the little, I don't know, powder and dust floating around everywhere. It just made me really like this kind of groovy look, if you may, to these games. So you go to level, exploring basically outside and inside a trailer park, a yard. You later on go underground and explore tanks and what have you, all while being about an inch and a half high. Now, what's the collectathon portion of it is you would go around and there would be these little capsules, like the type of capsules you'd put in a quarter machine and it would pop out a little toy. But these would be parts that then you would put together to make weapons. Now, it wasn't really a crafting thing. You had a whole menu that showed all the weapons that you would eventually be able to quote-unquote unlock. And the way you unlocked them was by finding all the little capsules in a level. Finding all of them at least unlocked you 1 to 2 to 3 weapons per level, depending on how big the level was. And some of the pieces you had to make sure that you got, because later levels wouldn't have that piece. And so if you didn't collect all of them, then you weren't going to get some of the stronger weapons later in the game. So once you collected the pieces, then you would craft some weapons, and of course they would go up in strength the further you got into the level. So you had a lot to choose from here. You had some melee weapons, as well as some weapons that would shoot stuff, or I think one of them was a flamethrower. All really creative in what they took for like pencils and stamps and thimbles and pins and needles, just to create these cool little weapons here. And on top of that, you'd also have just other stuff you would collect, like eggs or bugs and stuff that you could collect from level to level, and that would unlock concept art that you could open up in the main menu. Now here's something I didn't know about until playing the game again and trying to get footage of the concept art. There are mini games in this game, at least in Mushroom and the Spore Wars. So if you go to the menu that has all the concept art, if you go to the left, there is like 5 or 6 mini games, and they're like good mini games. You got like pachinko, you got one that's kind of like battle tanks, you've got the matching game where you flip 2 cards over and try to make a match, and they're all based off of the concept art there, which I thought was cool. And of course you got the concept art wall, and it unlocks as you collect more items throughout each level. And then on the right, because the music is made by Les Claypool of Primus, you can just listen to the music for this game, and oh my god, is this soundtrack amazing. I love the main theme, I love some of the level songs to it. And interesting enough, what I found out is that Les Claypool included some of the songs in his album of Fungi and Foe that released in 2009. So that was kind of cool. So if you've got that album or you listen to Les Claypool, this would be a game to check out just for that, on top of everything else. So yeah, great fun game, great fun platformer, collectathon there. Another really cool thing is how the health how the health bar was used in this game. Now most games either have something like on the HUD on the screen that shows how much health you have, or some games just opt out of it completely, and after you get hit, you'll lose like some coins, or it's whatever version of the currency is, but you won't die. Well, as this game, what you had was, of course, the top of Pax's head, the mushroom part, and as you got hit, little chunks would be taken away, and you would actually see his brain. Like, that's where his brain resided in, which was so cool. Now, as you go throughout the game, you level up, and there's more little, it's harder for him to die, of course, so there's, the chunks get smaller as the game goes forward in regards to how many times you can get hit. So in the first couple levels, you can get hit, I think, like 4 or 5 times, and you'll die. But as you go, it's like goes up to 6. I think 8 or 10 is the final amount there, and it's just really cool. Sometimes I would just kind of not regain health and just kind of walk around with like 1 or 2 chunks left, just so I could see the little brain wiggle around. It's so cool. Now, if you did want to, get more health, all you had to do was either, kill some enemies, and they would drop these little green pellets that would replenish your health, or around every level was these little plants of fungus, and you just had to hit the plants, and it would release some pellets, and voila, you're back to full health in no time. So I've spoken enough about Mushroom and the Spore Wars. Definitely check that one out. If any of these games out there interest you or look interesting, I feel the Mushroom Man and the Spore Wars is the one to check out. Now, as I said, the same day that the Wii game came out, we had a DS game Mushroom Men Rise of the Fungi. Now, Rise of the Fungi kind of felt like a step down. Now, the story goes that it's kind of a prequel to everything being set up, so the mushroom creatures, the fungi creatures, are still trying to build up their little societies here, and it's a bit more chaotic. In the there's a lot more weirder enemies, animal enemies, than mushroom enemies that you would see in Mushroom Men, the Spore Wars. And I really did not get into this game here. It does have a cool thing where, of course, the bottom screen, this being on the DS, the bottom screen would be where you controlled your character and you moved it throughout the level and, attacked and platformed and stuff. And then the top screen would normally show the map for each level, and would you be a little red dot and you'd follow yourself around there. It wasn't very helpful because you couldn't really, from what I could remember, you couldn't really zoom in on the map. So you're seeing this full map the whole time, and it's kind of roughly drawn out. So unless you're really familiar with the level, it's not very helpful unless you can remember where you're at. Now, there was some crafting. So like in Mushroom and the Spore Wars, in Rise of the Fungi, you did have the little capsules and you'd attack it, but there was more capsules around this time, and instead of just having one piece, sometimes they'd have multiple pieces, and then you would be able to create a whole bunch of different weapons. And this did have kind of an RPG element to it, I guess, where some weapons were stronger against other enemies as opposed to just a regular Wii game where you just had the one weapon, you could hit really anybody with it. So like some were more effective to weapons that were melee attacks, where others were more effective to flamethrower attacks. You even had some kind of ice beam attacks in here, and you'd build and craft either weapons or little projectiles, and you would collect them throughout each level. The graphics are really good for a DS game, and again, they could have gone with they were still doing a lot of sprite-based games during this time. We're trying to get into the 3D art style for a good bit, but they really could have done like a 32-bit gameplay style. I think it would have probably looked better than what we have now. The DS games, sometimes some of them haven't really aged that much there, but this one I think aged decently. You can definitely tell what everything is for the most part there. It is a little bit hard because of how much they try to cram into the screen there. You're pretty zoomed in on the camera, so you can only see a couple, maybe an inch or two from left to right, so it's a little hard to try to navigate around, especially when the platforming comes to play. There's a lot of falling and trial and error with that, and the enemies kind of sneak up on you sometimes too, so you won't even know that you're about to get into a battle until it's right upon you. So that was, both games came out in 2008. They had their run, people talk about them, but then they kind of died down. And unlike other Wii games that have gotten re-releases on newer systems like PS4 and the Nintendo Switch, the Mushroom Men series kind of stayed on the Wii there. I would love for them to, I don't even need a remaster, I would love for them for just re-release it on the Switch or the PS4, PS5, what have you, and just give us the regular controls, because that was the one issue with the Wii game there, was you still had the waggle controls whenever you wanted to attack. Now, there's 3 games. 7 years later, on March 10th, 2015, we got a new game in the Mushroom Men series. We got Mushroom Men Truffle Trouble. It was exclusive to the PC on top of that, so it didn't even come out to consoles. So you can still get this game on Steam. It's released for just a couple bucks there. And this is a sequel to the Wii game. You're following Pax again. And this one, he's apparently betrothed to this truffle princess. And every level is literally just you running from left to right, trying to get away from this giant truffle princess creature to the end level. I'm pretty sure it's all a dream. I haven't finished the game yet. Pretty sure it's all just a dream because every level ends with you sleeping in your bed. That's where the safe space is. You landing and jumping on the bed, and then the level ends. And it's a pretty simplistic game. Like, you thought Rise of the Fungi was simplistic. This takes it even more so. You don't have crafting. You only are really collecting the spores in each level. And there's no more, from what I've played and what I can see here, there's no more fungi enemies outside of the Truffle Princess. It's all bugs. Now it looks pretty and the cutscenes are gorgeous. And it really shows that if they really wanted to remaster the Wii game, it would look great. But this one, I mean, even on Steam, the reviews are mixed. It doesn't even have a lot of reviews. This guy's, as a recording of this video in January 2024, it has 15 reviews. So it kind of released without any applause or anything, and just kind of went without a note. So this game, it is a side scroller. It's got a bit of puzzle platforming to it. You have to move some boxes around there. The backgrounds are interesting and the animation is nice. But other than that, it's just kind of your run-of-the-mill platformer there, just with the Mushroom Men paint job. And that's going to be it for the Mushroom Men series. As of again, the recording of this video, we haven't heard any information on any more Mushroom Men media, games, anything, and I doubt we ever will. But let me know if you've ever heard of this series or if you grew up with any of these games and what were your thoughts there. And until next time, thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.